Hi friends, I'm Laurel from Alabaster Purl. Today's tutorial is going to be short and sweet. I'm not very good at doing short and sweet. I'll be teaching you the provisional cast on. This leaves the edges of your work, instead of it being a finished edge, it's actually live stitches, so you can pick them back up and seam them together later. This method of casting on is really useful for a bunch of different projects in knitting, including my braided cable headband pattern, which is available for purchase in my Etsy shop and on Ravelry. So let's just jump right into it. For the provisional cast on, you're going to need some scrap yarn, and I definitely recommend using a contrasting color and at least the same size as the yarn you're going to be knitting with. Don't use something smaller, that'll make your live stitches way too tight. If anything, use a bulkier yarn, but don't use a smaller yarn. I also recommend, if possible, to use straight needles. If you're using circular needles, they're shorter, so there's less room for your stitches to catch on, and the cable that connects the circular needles, it's easier for your stitches to get twisted on that. So if possible, use straight needles when doing the provisional cast on, but I do understand that sometimes you're doing this in the round, so just be super mindful when you're picking up your stitches and joining them in the round. So let's get started. You're simply going to tie a knot and leave enough of that main color yarn for a tail to weave in. Don't make that super tight because you're going to need to undo that later. And you're going to want your provisional yarn at the top and your main working yarn at the bottom. Grab your needle. You're going to hold that knot with your hand in the right hand. And just like the long tail cast on, you're going to split that yarn with your thumb and finger. And what you're going to do is go down the center, under your main yarn, over your scrap yarn, under your main yarn again, and back through the middle. So each movement creates 2 stitches. So keep your tension relatively tight, loose enough to still move around on the needles, because you are going to have to knit into those again. So let's do that one more time. Down through the center, under your working yarn, over your scrap yarn, under your working yarn again, and through the middle. Down the center, under your working yarn, over your scrap yarn, under your working yarn, and back through the middle. I love this cast on when you get used to it. It's actually super fun. Call me a nerd if you want, but I think this is really fun. So if you have a project that needs an odd number of stitches, you could just stop there, or you could do the whole motion and then pop that stitch off, whatever you want to do. I do want to mention that when you do come to pick up your stitches again, every other stitch is oriented incorrectly. So be mindful of that when you're picking up those stitches at the end of the project. And there you go, that's the provisional cast on. All right, that's it. You mastered the provisional cast on. It is kind of embarrassing how long it took me to get that down, so I hope that my instructions are helpful to at least one person. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and happy knitting. Hi there, I'm Laurel. Don't yell at the camera, Laurel. That's it. I hope you just enjoy